everybody. Good afternoon and welcome to the Highline. Thank you all so much for coming. My name is Cecilia Alemani. I'm the Donald R. Mullen Jr. Curator and Director of the art program on the Highline. And I'm very excited and humbled to welcome our friend Rosana Paulino. Let's give her an applause.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's wonderful to have you here in person. Of course, Rosana is the amazing artist that did the beautiful mural that is right behind us. And we're thrilled to have you here in person for a lovely conversation that we will keep informal. And we will do some Q&A for about 30 minutes. And then, of course, we're happy to get questions from you. So please hold them until the end of the talk. And I also want to say that it's a very special occasion for me to be here with you today. Rosana and I had the pleasure and the honor of working together when I curated the 59th Venice Biennale in 2022. And Rosana presented an amazing suite of drawings that somehow are related to this. So that's a question that will come your way. But it's also really exciting to see her work to these monumental dimensions on the Highline, where it's going to be visible and appreciated by so many millions of people. So I want to start by asking you maybe to just give us a little bit of a background of the inspiration for this piece behind us.
Okay, first of all, thank you everybody for coming in this so beautiful day. The weather is really lovely today, brilliant. And
You brought
so,
some weather from Sao Paulo.
yeah, the São Paulo is having a good weather as well. It's ever sun now. Anyway, and I thank you, really thank you for this opportunity, for the opportunity to have the mural here and with about this talking. And the mural is about something that's calling my attention the maybe the last 10 years that I'm really worried about this climate change. But before the climate change, the idea of work with these women that are half part tree and the animals, it came because some years ago, I was just studying psychology, and I studying about this trend about the how to deal, to think about female force, how to think about the goddesses, how to think about these movement about females and how the women were working to regain power, this kind of power that came from religion or sometimes not religion, about this kind of stuff. But going to the libraries in São Paulo and looking for the books, I could find a lot of different books about the female power, this kind of thing, and the goddesses, but I could not find things about the black psychology, the black female psychology, or the black female goddesses. When you talk about the power of feminine, for example, that was even in Brazil, that's a country that's black. Almost 60% of the population in Brazil is black, but I could not find about the black female psychology. So I started thinking, why? Why we can find, for example, about the power of the goddesses, so we can find the goddesses from Europe, from Asia, from Latin America, from very different countries, but not black goddesses. So I started to think about this, and I started to think about a mythology, a kind of mythology that I could deal with this idea. And soon I realized that it was not possible to think about black psychology in a country like Brazil without thinking about nature as well. And then this started more or less 10 years or more ago. And one movement that started with thinking about the psychology of black women started to gain also the idea of environment and how we are destructing our environment, and how the way that some population in Brazil, like the original people, the native people, the black people that has a religion from Africa, that is how we think nature and how may be the key to save the planet, to stop this climate change, if we still have time to do this, is how this population know about this and how maybe they have the key to change the climate change, to change it that is occurring with the climate now. And so this started like this. I started to make, to drawing these females, half tree, half women, and after they started the animals, they started to appear in the artwork, and the mangrove like this is the now the thing that I'm working on.
And before we go in each element of the mural, I'm curious for you to talk a little bit about the technique, because of course you are an artist that works a lot with drawings and two-dimensional, smaller paintings and assemblage and also sculpture. But I think this is probably one of your biggest works to date, and also, of course, very public. So I'm curious to hear you talk about, how did you translate your work from a drawing, like for instance, from the drawings that you show in Venice, to something of this scale?
Wow, it was really a challenge because it's a mural. I've never made a mural before. This was when Cecilia called me to occupy this area. Oh my God, that's a mural. Fortunately, I made this after São Paulo Biennial when I made some triptychs, large works that was almost 3 meters high and almost 6 large the size. So I was changing the scale. And okay, I am changing it. I will start with a drawing. And thank God we have technology. I love technology. So I made first, I like to drawing by hand. I don't like, for example, to make a small drawing and project it on the wall and drawing using the projection. I like to really feel my body in relation to the paper. So I made a large drawing. Curiously, it was the first drawing. It was, okay, is this drawing? It is this. It was the first drawing. And after we took photos, and we used the programs, some computer programs to make this. Because one thing that was really amazing in this process is that the guys, they really painted it. That is not something that is printed. That's not, we don't send this to be printed and put on parts on the wall. It's really painted.
Hand painted, yes.
Hand painted, yeah, that's lovely. So first I made the drawing, took photos, we put this on the computer, and after, in order to make it easier for the team, because we have a variety of colors here, it is very difficult. Even when you do it in a small scale, that's very difficult. So in order to help the guys to paint this, my assistant think the colors using a program so he could send the correct color, some measurements about the color, and then we made a map dividing the colors. So I think that it made it easier today to work because it's very difficult to make an artwork in this scale.
And when you look at it now, do you tell us about the sense of scale, right? Because usually your drawings are much more intimate, and yet today you can see this, I don't know how many feet high it is, but your women are incredibly powerful and towering here on the High Line. How does it feel?
It's difficult to describe because yesterday I came here at night to see at night, and I was so small, so tiny in front of this, and so it's a sense of amazing. You know, you plan something. I use the computer, but then you really see Oh my God, we really made this. It was really uh, a wonder
Yeah.
to see this.
Yeah, I think it's the beauty of public art, no? That after you conceive your piece, then you have to
Yes.
let it go, and
Hmm.
it becomes of the people and of the city of New York. But going back to this wonderful artwork, I want you to talk a little bit about the Mangrove series, because you've been working on that for quite some time, and maybe you can talk a little bit about the sort of symbolic meaning of the mangrove, both as a plant and in general as in the context of the natural biome, and also culturally. What does a mangrove represent for you and for your culture?
Yeah. Normally, when people think about Brazil, they think about the rainforest. That, of course, it is very important, but maybe the biome that is the most important in the country is the mangroves, because all the coast of the Brazil we have mangroves. And people don't know that the mangroves, they also as the rainforest, they are very important biomes for the environment, for the climate, for the to clean the air, for example. And the mangroves, they have something that is very special for me that I think is beautiful, because the life starts in mangrove. We have some kind of fishes, for example, or crabs that then go to the mangrove to put their eggs. So the life starts there, but the end is there as well. Because when you go to the mangrove, the smell is very particular, because we have all some life forms that died in the mangrove. We have the leaves that fall from the trees, and so the smell, it's very
It's intense, no?
intense. Most people don't like the smell, because it's a smell of something that is transforming. So it's life. It's where the life starts, and where the life ends as well. So it's a meaning so beautiful for me. And when I think about the Afro-Brazilian religion, for example, we have a deity, a goddess that is from the mangrove. So she has an old woman that's called Nanan, very, very old. She has a lot of knowledge. And then this environment is dedicated to her. So it's about to be wise, to be time, or no time, because this is where it started, this is where life starts. When you think about science, for example, the scientists say that life probably appeared in an environment like a mangrove, because you have that mix of protein and water and earth that is very important to beginning of life. So it's an environment that has a very, very beautiful meaning, symbolism, and important as well.
And what I love about this work is that it really captures so many of your concerns or sort of methodologies, and thinking about the idea of metamorphosis, and this idea of, as you just said, a mangrove as a plant that gives life but also brings death. So this is a sort of circular narrative and storytelling, and I think is also very beautifully depicted by the gradient that you see behind behind the mural, from a sunny day to a dark night. But I'm also curious for you to talk a little bit and kind of decode the animals that we see here, because of course we recognize them, but they have a different symbols, a symbolic meaning for you and for your culture. So I'm curious for you to walk us through these great creatures.
Okay. As I told you, the mangrove is this place where things start, but they end as well. And so for me, it's like to be the sunrise, like to have the day and the night in the same spaces. We have the dry, the humidity, and the heat as well. And for example, we have here when it starts the day, we have this animal, the red bird, that it is linked with the idea of sun, idea of the life when it begins, even for some native people in the country.
Yeah.
But we have the white hero.
Aaron.
Arrow. We have the white arrow as well that is linked with the soul.
Yeah.
We have some idea that some native people, original people in the country, they say that the soul, it represented the dead souls. So we have the both. In the same, the bird has this kind of mythology. But we see that the day is passing, and also this is the night creatures. And we have, of course, the bats, the owl, and we have the flowers as well.
Yeah.
For me, it's very interesting because it's angel trumpet.
Angel trumpet. Okay.
Angel trumpet. We have the same name in Portuguese.
Okay.
It's trombeta de anjo, para quem who speak Portuguese. And, in this case, for me, it's curious because this plant, it has the capacity to deal with our mind. It can cause some kind of hallucination.
Oh, really?
Yes, it is related with the side of the night. For me, that is related with the unconscious, the dreams, the things that we don't have control. So it's a side that commonly appears at night when we go to sleep. So I think that could be interesting to have this symbolism for the plants as well.
And since I'm curious to hear you talk about how you intertwine, larger cosmologies or mythologies with your own personal story. Like, how does the individual story weaves through these larger stories that you just described to us?
Well, I think that for every person, we are inside of this cosmos. The problem is the Western world just shared, just put apart the nature and the mind. But I came from a culture that if you do something, if you need a leaf, for example, you ask permission for the tree before you go and take it.
Okay.
And so I can't see myself apart from this world.
Yeah.
For me, it's the same
It's the
thing.
same thing.
It's the same thing. So for me, it's curious when people ask me, for example, how can you think about this, or how can you think about nature, or but for me, it's the same. I came from a culture that you see yourself inside the nature.
Yeah.
So it is difficult for me to think in a different way.
Sure.
And for me, it's very important as well because in the last years, I am thinking a lot about the disaster that we are facing now, about the climate change. And I'm thinking about how in the Western culture, for example, we can think about the main stay here, for example, above the nature. But for other people, for example, other kind of cultures, the main is never main about and say about the species. You are never, never, never above the nature. This is the opposite. If the nature do like this, for example, we disappear. And so for me, I can't feel or see myself or feel myself outside this idea. It's like a cosmos.
Yeah. And that's an interesting sideway to the next question, which is less related to this specific work, but more in general about your artist practice, because you have engaged quite often with different histories that are connected to your home country, Brazil, colonial history, history of slavery, the exploitation of both Black and Indigenous people, and the environment, which of course you mentioned. Can you talk about how you feed from these stories and this context in your work? Is that you clearly said that for you is the same thing, there is not a distinction, but can you expand a little bit about these other histories that you're referring to, maybe in other works of yours, or maybe also in your show that you're preparing now at the gallery?
Yes. One thing that I would like to say that I prepare myself not to be an artist. First of all, I was thinking about my career as a biologist.
I didn't know
Yes.
that.
So I think because this, I can't put things aside, is science or biology. So one thing that called my attention in Brazil was how science was used and then is still used nowadays uh, as a way to maintain control, to justify the slavery, for example. And it's one thing that people don't discuss in the country. So when I started to think about my country, science and biology and nature, they use still all the time in the work, because it was one thing that I think that we have as a Brazilian to put on the table, to put this on the table and discuss about science, about photography, for example, because photography was used as so has a way to prove false reality of South science that put white supremacy, for example, right above the blacks and above the native people. So all these things for me are together, and one is connected with each other. When I studying, for example, about slavery and how it molded, how it shaped Brazil, I can't study slavery without study about science and without study about photography and how it was used to prove. Well, they used to try to prove something that is not a reality. And, it's not because when I study about the country, about Brazil, and don't study things like this, you'll not understand the country. And then this, until today, we can find this on the way that we deal with nature.
Yeah.
Things that started 500 years ago. We are seeing the result of this now.
Sure.
So we have to put all these things together, and they are connected to each other.
And also maybe talking also about the main characters of your work, which are usually strong, powerful women depicted. Of course, we see that here, but I think it's a way that you animate your work with these very powerful figures. Do you think they have a role into what we can call a resistance, an act of resistance?
Yes, it is, and it's very particular for me because I came from a family that it's mother, father, and they had four children, just females. So it's me and my three sisters. So I grew up in a very female environment, and even for Afro-Brazilian religion, for example, the women has a central role to play in these religions. So I used to go, for example, and see how the females had the power, how they deal with medicine. When we had the kind of popular medicine using plants. So for me, it's a very natural environment. And when I grew up, I could realize that the world really, that environment that I had at my home, where females had a main role, I could not find this in the society. So I started to ask myself, why? And also for me, using these females, these three that they are so powerful, it's a way to think about society, and at the same time, it's a way to bring back this idea of home, this idea of home that I had, because I grew up in a place where the females, they were very powerful.
And do you think things are changing in Brazil or in general in the world in our attitude towards women or these very powerful depictions of women?
Oh, well, it depends because in politics, for example, we don't have majority. We have just few women in Brazil, not all around the world. But some of them are very powerful. We even had a president, a female president, and even we discuss, for example, about knowledge, about medicine, about some kind of religions. We are seeing that in Brazil, we are starting to discuss more about this kind of power, about a kind of medicine and more natural medicine that came directly from the plants, for example. And in this case, the females, they have a main role, a very prominent role. Even mainly when you go for the peripheric areas where we have the poorest, for example, we are having very interesting movements now in Brazil, trying to bring back that kind of medicine that's cheaper, that's not so aggressive, and then that can take care of you. Yes, so sometimes better than using chemicals, for example, because this is it's rooted. It is rooted in not only to use a plant to make a tea, for example, but it has a lot of information that came with this. And it's so important have the tea, but they have this kind of comfort and the information and this kind of knowledge that
It's a memory, no?
it's a memory. It's much more than it's culture, it's history, it's to bring back your ancestry.
I have a couple of more questions. You're here because, of course, we want to celebrate you here, but also because you're opening an exhibition in your gallery, Mendes Wood, here in Tribeca on Friday. And can you tell us about what to expect? And can we invite all of our friends to the opening?
Yes, you'll be welcome to the opening on Friday at 6 o'clock. Yeah, at 6 o'clock, so you can go. Really welcome there. And I carry on this research using these ideas of mangrove trees or the trees or the plants. But at the same time, we thought that it was important to bring as well some work is discussing about races, about knowledge and science. And so we put also some works that are not older, that are not made in the last years, in order to really show a bit of my career, because I'm an artist that has 30 years of careers. It's a lot of time. And then my first solo show in New York, so it was important.
This is your first solo show in New York?
In New York,
congratulations.
yes. Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you. And also, I thought that was important to bring, to expand the show.
And how are you thinking, like as an artist, when you're preparing such an important exhibition, how much do you think of the context of the city, of the American culture, the American politics? Or is it just, for you, it's a white cube space and it doesn't matter whether it's in New York, in Sao Paulo, or in Venice? How much does the context influence your thinking?
I think that to be here did not influence it much, because I think that these problems that are discussed are universal. Something odd, because it's at the same time it is universal, but at the same time it's very Brazilian as well. It's universal because the world is facing this climate change. In São Paulo, we are having terrible storms, really terrible storms, something that we did not use to have in the country. And here, you told me that until last week, it was very cold. So it's impossible to deny that the climate is changing, that all the world is facing this. And at the same time, the world how it is now, it is a result of things that started 500 years ago. We did the science of that age. We did the first globalization. So it's universal. So it could be here, or could it be in São Paulo, or could it be in Mumbai, for example. All the world is facing this changing.
Maybe art brings us together, no?
Yes,
in the drama of things. And can you tell us if you're working on any other projects besides this exhibition in New York? Do you have any big projects coming up in the next few months or few years that you can tell us about?
Well, I have a rest after this, because I am terrible tired, because it was 2 biennials. São Paulo was large, enormous works. And also I have to come back to study a little more because I have a lot of ideas. I have a sketchbook with a lot of ideas. I probably did 2 or 3 lives like this to really realize all that. But I needed to have a rest to become to study because I study all the time. I don't like just just to repeat an idea. And I'm a kind of artist that really love researching. I was almost a scientist. I almost a biologist, so I really have
Makes sense.
yeah have time to start new researches and carry on with the work.
And how do you do your research? Is it going to a library? Is it talking to people?
It depends. Sometimes, for example, I have a series of drawings. Some of them was in Venice that I just found a little beetle in dead beetle in my studio.
Yeah.
And I collected them.
Okay.
I collected insects. I collected beetles. I collected plants. I really collected them like a scientist. I have boxes with them. And it can start, for example, a series of drawings. But can start with a beetle, or can start. But after I go to the libraries, I really enter in this like a scientist of time. And that's funny because when I got my PhD, for example, I had more books about science than about arts. So it kind of starts when I find something, or when I listen something, or I feel something. But I even have a time to search for information in libraries and see the work that other artists made, discussing, or even reading about scientific texts as well.
That's great. I have one more question, and then we'll open to the audience if they have any questions. We're here in front of your wonderful mural on the High Line, which of course is in New York City, and yet we have millions of people that have seen or will see your work, and they come from everywhere in the world, literally from I don't know how many countries we have, but how does it feel for you to bring your work to such a global stage? And also, what would you like people to take away with them from your work here?
Oh, it's funny because they mark me at Instagram. They looking for information. I think that for me it's really curious, and I really enjoy. I really appreciate this. They look for information about the work.
Yeah.
They sit here, they see the name, and after they go for looking for more information, they put the image on the Instagram and mark me. Okay, I saw your work at Highline and it was good because I did not know about you and about your work. And, so it's really it's a pleasure because I can see that the arts people are researching. They see this and they go for information.
They're curious, yeah.
Yeah, that's really it's fantastic.
I think that's very much sort of the beauty of bringing art in the public space.
Yes.
There is something that is a bit less passive than, sorry, I shouldn't say, I'm not a museum curator, but when you go to a museum, you see a picture, usually that encounter is a bit more passive. You know, you assume it's art, you assume somebody selected for you, it's great. Here, I think people don't even know that we have an art program on the Highland. So when they stumble upon something like your great work, I think they're much more curious to learn about you, about the artwork itself. It's a much more active engagement.
Yes, it's beautiful to see. It's beautiful, really beautiful to know that a person see your work, searching for information about you, and then after, and they started to follow me at the Instagram.
Yeah, that's nice.
And so it's really interesting because you can realize that something changed. That person that did not know about your work or about the things that you are discussing saw it, search for information, take care to have a picture, put the picture in the Instagram and mark you. Okay, look at this. I saw your photo. I saw your artwork, and they start to follow me. It's not about me, about my work. Yes, it's about knowledge. It's about to discuss an idea. So for me, it's a really beautiful thing.
That's a beautiful way of ending. Thank you, Rosana. Let's see if there are any questions or comments from the audience. We have, Yes. Yeah, go.
There.
Just 1 second.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here. It's very exciting. My question is just, is there a hope that this will be permanent as much as a mural outdoor can be, or is there a plan to?
I will take that question.
Yeah.
Yes, for Cecilia.
We love our art and our artists, and we keep our every project on view for 12 months, but we don't do anything permanent on the Highland. Mostly because I wouldn't have a job otherwise, if we weren't changing art on the Highland every month. But kidding aside, we like the idea that art cycles in and out, and you can encounter this mural today. You come back in 6 months, there is going to be something else, but not just here, all throughout the park. So it's actually a fairly long span for public art. Sometimes in the city, you see other colleagues that maybe have projects for 3 or 4 months. So we feel like 1 year is a fairly, I don't know, it's a fairly mature time. And then it's a reason for you to come back and see something else next year. But we love you.
Thank you. I have so many questions. So the mangrove ladies, I know they're women and plants, and it's all the same. So are those roots and mangrove leaves coming out of their mouths? And what about the halos?
The halos is about this idea of something that is sacred, and they are full of life. They're so full of life that the life came from her roots, from her mouths. They have birds. They are life. Because this, not only in this mural, but if you go to Mangrove as well, to the exhibition that we will open, we will see that there I have some women that have lots of roots coming from different, even for the eyes, from the mouth, from the hair. It's about life. Life is, it's vibrant. It is just coming. Life, it wants life.
We have a few more questions up here.
Oh, the lady there.
One is coming.
There. Lots of people.
Hi, Rosana. Thank you so much.
Hi.
So happy to see you. My question is about you have these other drawings, the Mulheres Jatobá. I don't know how to say the women. They're kind of a tree, and as far as I remember, or I don't know if I'm right, but first they were like alone, just them, as a tree, and then now they're like in. Do you see like a kind of development from the Mulheres Jatobá to your work in the mangrove, where they're connected? Also, I was thinking about how I saw you one time talking how Mulheres Jatobá was like more connected to existential thinking than, for example, Assentamento, that you're thinking about science. But here, when you were talking about climate change and everything, things, I think things were never fully separated, but not now is very, in your talk, more clear that they are together. So also,
Okay, thank you for the question. I started this idea of females, of the women and plants, making some drawings that was called the Lady of Plants. And something that is odd about this work is that I can't control them. I started making, each one that I made has a kind of personality. If you go to Wood to see the show there, you realize this. And I can't control. I don't know why. I can't control. I started making some images that the women were young, like plants, and then after came some old trees. She told about jatobá, that is a tree, a Brazilian tree, and I used to walk in a park close to my home, and then there they have this tree, the jatobá, that is almost 500 years old. to see a being, an alive being that is almost 500 years, it's something really special. And also in that case, when I started to draw in they appeared like very old women, full of wise. And in this case of the mangrove, for example, when I made them for São Paulo Biennial, I don't know if because the scale be so large, it's for me it's like they has no time. It's like everything starts and ends here. So it's so old, so old that it's impossible to say how old they are. And when I started doing them, I'm not thinking exactly about this, but they just appear. I think that's something in unconscious, not only maybe in my unconscious, but it may be in the other females or I don't know, that I just can't control. Each one of them has her personalities and they are mystery and because this I could not say that is a development because I never know what will appear.
I already have the mic. Thank you so much for the amazing talk. I wanted to ask from, within your creation process, you create a body of work for a gallery show, but then you're also creating this big public artwork that, a lot of eyes end up seeing versus a gallery show where, yes, you might have a big audience, but very often we think that in galleries there are a lot of people from the art world who are already well-versed, trained in art history, etc. When you create your works, do you actually take that audience into consideration, or is it for you just very much like your work, it has that integrity throughout every single piece that you make? Or do you think about that actively?
Well, I just make my work. The art dealers that work with me, they are here. They suffer a lot with me because I do the work. And this is the work. Okay, I will think this for a museum or for a mural. If you go to the gallery, you find this in the gallery. So sometimes, okay, I know this is a gallery, this is not a museum, but this is the work, and they accept this. So they suffer a lot with me because I think the work is the work. The thing that I think about the people, about the audience, when I am working is that I must be direct and I must make my feelings and the things that I want to discuss clear enough because the other has to understand why I am discussing something or what I'm discussing. So I have to make myself, I have to make my work clear enough to other to understand that and to start a discussion. But that's all. If you stay in a mural or in an art gallery or in a museum, for me, it does not matter. Does not has difference. Have something that I want to discuss, and that's all.
So hi, Rosana. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And also, hi, Line. I mean, it's amazing. I'm from Brazil, and I am so pleased to be in front of this masterpiece and Rosana as well because I'm a PhD in theology here in New York, and I've been working in Rosana's work since a couple of years, I would say, and so being in front of this for me is sacred as she described, and I'm so curious to know about the roots because we can visibly see that comes from right. What is that? And thank you for unpacking this for us. But my question is because I'm curious to know how the settlement, the assentamento, and your technique of refazimento, if it connects with this piece of art. Is there a connection, or no? It's like completely new, completely from scratch. Because I think that methodology of like making art, it's so powerful, and how this connects with your method of refazimento. Thank you.
Okay. We have a link. We really have a link between these roots, these females, these roots, and this artwork that is talking about, assentamento, because I think about black people in Brazil, in the country, as the people that rooted the country. The country was built, great part of the culture, the Brazilian culture, was built by black people. Religion, about music, about the way that we, even the way that we walk, for example, that is different. We are the only country that speaks Portuguese in a way that is different from Portugal, from the Portuguese from Portugal. So people are starting to say that we even has different and the new language that's called the Brazilian language. People are considering a Brazilian language has a language different from Portuguese language. And a great part of this is because the way that music shaped the Brazilian language, that made this so different. So, in my opinion, the great part of the country is built, was built by black and their culture, by black people and their culture. And so I started to make these roots in assentamento and other drawings. And when I realized, I could see, okay, it is roots, the Brazilian rooted in the country, and the nature, the female, this element is rooted in the life. So it's about life. It's about having this root for the country, for the life. So when I use the mangroves, for example, the way that the roots appear, and one thing that caught my attention for this environment is that I think that's so beautiful, it's so powerful to see the mangrove trees and the way how these roots are inside that environment, and the ways that they found to preserve themselves. Because for people that don't know, the mangrove element, we have the sea, the water from the sea, that waves is part of the day. And then that is salted, that has some chemical elements that are very aggressive for the roots. Another part, they not to disappear. I don't know the word in English. They raise it. They become less. Anyway, yes, the lower. Yes, thank you. So these trees developed a way to maintain their health. It was something that the nature, to stay in that environment is not for any tree. You have to have a very special qualities to survive in that environment. And for me, the black population in Brazil is more or less developed so many special qualities to stay alive and then to maintain their culture and they plant their roots. So we have, for me, roots are something very special. We have a link between the roots that appears in assentamento or that appears in this female plant woman.
So my question is, when I look at this, I get a sense of a supernatural type of scene where, like, she's representing, or as you say, she's representing the day and she's there representing the night. The second part to my question is this like a like is this someone that you are these based off of people that you are in your family, like were they depicted with the depictions of people that were in your family? Is this like home based? And that's where you got the information, like not the information, but the inspiration for them, like your mother or sister or someone like that.
No. In this case, it's about a black female general. Like we think, for example, we think that probably life started in Africa. For example, we have the primitive Eva, how the scientists say that it was a black woman. The life started there. And so it's about this kind of life, that's much larger, bigger than just my family. It's about life as general, and I think the power of the female and the black females in all this history. It's really about life.
We get one more question and then we conclude.
Hi there. My question is, you know, this is a temporary work of art, which is very beautiful, and you put your heart and soul into it. How do you come, when it comes to an end, how do you deal with it?
It's life. It is angels. I don't have trouble with the endings because I came from a family that deals with this very, I hope, very well. And we just think that life is something that is circular. It starts and ends and starts again. So in this case, of course, I'm missing this because it's really beautiful. It is the largest work that I've made, but it must change. Just that's all.
To still enjoy. In November. So thank you, Rosana.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all.